Today on Dashner Design and Restoration. This isn't the style of furniture that I usually work on. I'm probably mostly known for doing mid-century modern stuff, and while this cart is mid-century, it's not mid-century modern. But it's a nice, solid, well-made piece of furniture, and I think with a few small modifications, I can get it at least a little closer to my style. And I'll start by getting some stripper on it and removing the original finish. And you can see here, I'm starting to uncover a lighter layer underneath that brownish layer on top. And that's the dreaded white goop that you find sometimes on mid-century furniture. I'm not sure the correct name for this kind of finish. I think maybe it's pickled or limed finish. In my experience, it can be pretty difficult to remove. And if I had known that this was waiting for me, I may not have bought this at all. But it was hard to tell that it was there originally because somebody had put reddish stain over everything. It looks like somebody may have gone over this whole thing with some reddish stain, just like right over the original finish. You can kind of see streaky red stuff all over it. So, at this point, I have to just keep going and get all that white stuff off. Spray it with some water. Still a little finish over here and a few spots, so I'm just going to go over it with some more stripper and some fine steel wool. Here you can see that there's actually some pretty nice walnut veneer underneath all that goop. While it looks pretty good now, you can kind of see that there's still some of that white stuff that's making it look a little blotchy. Especially in areas like this, you can kind of see there's a light patch there. So at this point I decided to just give it a good sanding. And I started with 80 grit on an orbital sander, which is pretty aggressive for veneer. And I usually don't go that aggressive, but I just wanted to get all that white stuff off and move on. So I was just really careful to keep the sander moving, and I made sure not to linger too long on the edges, because that's where you usually will sand through the veneer the quickest. And of course, after the 80 grit, I continued sanding up through the grits, 120, 150, and ended with 180 by hand. And by the time I was done with the sanding, I had some pretty nice looking walnut veneer here. Who knew that was hiding under that goopy finish? Sandpaper alone wasn't going to cut it on these lighter trim pieces, so I used a few small scraper blades to clean these up. And that worked pretty well. I really wanted to make this cart a little less frilly. One way I figured I could do that is to trim off some of these swoopy, frilly bits. Not sure what to call them. So I just drew a curve as best I could on the pieces and then cut it off with a jigsaw and smoothed it out with the belt sander. This is the trim piece from the bottom of the cart, and I was able to just unscrew this and take it off. There it is. Which made it a lot easier to work on. Whereas the top one, I couldn't remove that because that was part of the structure of the cart. It was glued in there. And then I used a handheld router with a roundover bit to put a little bit of a roundover on the parts that I cut off. A router is really handy to have around for jobs like this, and really for countless other jobs in the shop. And I recently learned a whole bunch of new router techniques from watching this tutorial, Essential Handheld Router Techniques, which was made by the sponsor of today's video, Woodworkers Guild of America. Woodworkers Guild of America is an incredible online resource for woodworking instructions, ideas, and information. I'm happy to say that the first 1,000 viewers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. Their videos are taught by professional instructors, and they're always creating new videos to keep you interested and inspired. If you enjoy watching my refinishing videos, you'll probably find this video helpful, choosing and using the best stain, and this video, how sanding affects your stain color. So remember, the first 1,000 viewers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Woodworkers Guild of America for only $1.49. Thank you, Woodworkers Guild of America, for sponsoring this video. And while I was at it, I decided to remove these little frilly bits on the drawer faces. I used an iron to try and soften the glue that may have been holding them on, in addition to the little nails that I could see in there, and then just did my best to pop them off without damaging the veneer. Got some veneer damage. Oh well. I'm going to carry on anyway and deal with the veneer damage later. Okay, I'm going to try and fix this veneer damage, and I'm going to use super glue. Alright, that should be good. There's a little bit of the piece of trim still stuck on here. I'm going to try to get that off. And now I'm just going to wipe it down to see how the grain looks. And it looks pretty good. There's just a hint of a shadow where that trim was, but I think it's fine. A couple of the legs have a crack in them, so I'm going to glue those up now. I'm going to put some tape on here just to help keep the glue squeeze out off of the wood. Feels pretty good. Just want to make sure that it was coming together correctly. And this one is also cracked. And I completely forgot to put tape on this one. Oh well. I really should have done this before I took the finish off, but I didn't. But that way the glue wouldn't have got on the raw wood and it wouldn't have been an issue. That should do it. The cart has wheels on it, and there are these two-piece designs. There's a sleeve that fits into a hole in the leg, and then the wheel pops into that. But two of them keep falling out, and I think it's because the wood on the leg is so chewed up. There's nothing for the teeth to grab into. So I'm going to fill in those chewed up areas with some epoxy putty. And basically I just cut off as much as I think I need and mix it up and then shove it into the part that needs repair. And once that's dried, it should give something for those little teeth to grab onto. There's a little bit of a dark watermark here, right about there. I want to see if I can remove that with some oxalic acid. Actually, it's a ring, so it's here and then there's some here. It's kind of faint, but give it a try, see if I can get it out. Alright, so now this walnut veneer is looking lovely, but I don't like this trim. So I want to get the color of this closer to the walnut. And to do that, I'm going to try some gel stain first. If I get any on the top, I'm just going to wipe it with some mineral spirits and it'll come right off. I'm putting this gel stain on the legs as well. So I'm putting it everywhere but the flat parts that have the walnut veneer on them. That veneer has some pretty nice color all on its own. And the color of this gel stain is called Candlelight. I let the stain dry overnight, and then I could apply the top coat, and in this case I used a wipe-on oil polyurethane, which I mixed up myself. And I'm just taking a can of regular oil polyurethane, satin, and I have an empty can here that I've saved, and I'm just going to fill the can halfway with the poly and then fill it the rest of the way with mineral spirits. And that thins it out nicely, and it works really well for me. It wipes on easily. There's no brush marks or anything like that. I've got a few coats of polyurethane on here, and before I put any more on, I want to fill in this little hole here in the veneer. I'm not sure how that got there, but it's not big, it's pretty small, but I'm going to fill it with a hard fill stick and just melt it in there. That's way more than I needed, but I can scrape off the excess. Okay, it's that easy. These are the trim pieces for the bottom, and as you can see, that piece is a lot lighter than this one. So I want to put some gel stain on this one. I've already put the polyurethane on it, but this should still work. So that got it closer to this, although it's kind of hard to tell right now because this is very dull looking because there's just a little tiny bit of finish on it. But that'll deepen once I put more finish on it, and I'll just reevaluate it later and see if I need different color or more color or whatever. But it's a start. Once all the finish was dry, I could put it all back together. And you may be wondering if I did anything with the drawer pulls. And I was going to try and get new ones, but I couldn't find any that had the same spacing as these. And I considered just filling the screw holes and getting completely new ones with different spacing, but then there still would be marks left from the old pulls. So I just decided to clean these up a bit. I sprayed them with some brown paint and put them back on. And here it is, all finished. And for a comparison, here's how it looked when I got it. And here's how it looks now. Thanks for watching.